Greetings and welcome back to Switch to Linux. There was a fascinating article in the news this morning that I wanted to go ahead and get something out about before, waiting a while for another news cycle, and it kind of relates into the tech and the privacy world that I talk with a lot. Now, this is an article from The Verge, and the title, which is a little sensationalist, is Facebook suspended Donald Trump's data operations team for misusing people's personal information. Like, huh? So what's going on here? So basically they're looking at this group, Cambridge Analytica, which played a key role in 2016 presidential campaign. So basically what's happening here is that Donald Trump had hired a social firm that did a better job than Clinton's social firm at targeting potential voters. And so this kind of is part of what caused this, this ruckus. When one party sits here and utilizes the social media, it's just brilliance in reaching your target audience. When the other party does it, it's evil and sick and twisted because, that's the way our world is. But we're going to set all of that junk aside and look at what the issue is and give a recommendation based upon this. And so basically what they said is, now this happened late last night, so late Friday, it suspended Strategic Communication Laboratories, which is SCL, along with its political data analytics, Cambridge Analytica, for violating policies around data collection and retention. So the companies ran data operations for Donald Trump's 2016 presidential election campaign, and they are widely credited for helping Trump more effectively target voters on Facebook than his rival Hillary Clinton. While the exact nature of their role remains somewhat mysterious, Facebook's disclosure suggests the company improperly obtained user data that could have given an unfair advantage. Now that's where The Verge, unfortunately, is more of a leftist journalist group versus Trump is definitely right. And so there's always going to be this anti-right, anti-Trump bias in what they do. And I've seen this in a lot of articles The Verge does. But let's go ahead and dissect through all of that. And I gotta say that this is not just something limited to this party or limited to the right. The left is doing this all the time too. Nobody's having a hissy fit because, well, they're not as caught. Necessarily. What happened here is one instance of these people were being caught breaking Facebook violations. That's why this had happened. Now, the question is, how frequently does this happen? And that's what I want to get to in my recommendations near the end. So it says in a blog post, let me see if I missed something else there. In a blog post, Facebook dispute Deputy General Counsel Paul Grewal laid out how SLC came into possession of the user data. Okay, and this is where it gets important. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to tell you that if you have apps, websites, any of this user application, you will have noticed over the last decade or so that, maybe the last half a decade really, that it became a popular thing for a website to streamline a login by linking the app to Facebook's API. In other words, you get in there and you have the option to log in with Facebook or just log in with some other little account credentials here. I mean, Facebook's clearly easier. I'm trying to think, what is it? One of my accounts, it might actually be my merchant account, actually, I think allows a lot Facebook login. I forget. I don't know. I think Patreon does as well. I mean, look for all these sites that allow a Facebook login. And if you are using Facebook login to access any of these sites, stop. Just stop. Because you are giving site permission to access way more information than they would have if you just created an account with them. And that's the better way to go. So what he says here is that Alexander, I'm going to say that Alexander, I think it's definitely spelled differently, but I'm going to use that as the name, Kogan, a psychology professor at University of Cambridge, created an app named This Is Your Digital Life. So the app, and this is where we have to be very careful about the apps that we download. This is your digital life that promise to predict aspects of users' personalities, i.e., ever see, oh, take our test, take this, take that. All you are doing when you are taking a test on Facebook, when you are downloading an app and connecting it, when you are connecting onto a website with your Facebook login, what you are doing is giving all of your profile information in Facebook to that company, whereas they might not have had it otherwise. This is why all of these, crazy apps like all of this kind of stuff started coming down the pipeline. They're completely useless, entertainment purposes, but what they're doing is giving big companies the ability to collect a ton of data on you. So you have to be careful about that. It promised to predict aspects of users' personalities. About 270,000 people downloaded it and logged in through Facebook. So however many downloads, 270,000 people used that login via Facebook, which gave Kogan access to information about their city of residence, Facebook content they had liked, and information about their friends. Kogan then passed the data to SCL and a man named Christopher Wiley from data harvesting firm known as Unoria Technologies in violation of Facebook rules that prevent app developers from giving away or selling users' personal information. Now, that is the part I'm going to say, yeah, everyone's doing this, people, like it or not. These guys were caught. Think of every one guy that's caught, there's probably somewhere between 100 and 1,000 that aren't. And that's why you need to be careful. If you do need to have a Facebook account to interact with certain key people in your life, fine. Don't connect it to anything. That's what's causing the problem here. It asked Kogan and his associates, Facebook learned of the violation that year and removed his app from Facebook. It also asked Kogan and his associates to certify they had destroyed the inappropriately connected data, and everyone said they did. We believe them all, don't we? We do. Several days ago, we received reports that, contrary to the certifications we were given, not all data was deleted, Grewal wrote. We are moving aggressively to determine the accuracy of these claims. If true, this is another unacceptable violation of trust and the communities they made. We are suspending SCL and Cambridge Analytica, Wiley and Kogan from Facebook pending further investigation. So it's good that they're acting. Again, this is not isolated. This is not, oh my, these one guys went rogue. A lot of people are doing this. This is why there's all of these games and all of these things. Now, not every website that says, log in with Facebook is necessarily doing this, but you have to assume that everyone with a login to Facebook has an interest in doing that, because that's the way that you protect yourself. And if you think you don't have anything to hide, yes, you do. We're going to address that somewhere else, and I have before. They say this suspension is not permanent. You can read the article for more about that. So the Trump campaign hired Cambridge Analytica in June 2016 to run its data operations. Separately, it hired a digital marketing firm named Gillis Parscale. Gillis Parscale, to run online advertising campaigns. Parscale designed the ads. Cambridge data helped Parscale to target the voters. Sean Illing laid out in a connection at Vox. So Kushner hired a man named Brad Parscale, a Texas-based digital expert who had worked previously for Team Trump. According to Confessor and Haycom, Cambridge Analytica convinced Parscale, who has since agreed to be interviewed by the House Intelligence Committee, to try out the firm. The decision was reinforced by Trump's campaign manager, Steve Bannon, who is also a former vice president of Cambridge Analytica. And there's more to that quote. Basically, this sounds nefarious. Basically, all that means is Parscale was looking at the data and determining how to create the Facebook ads, which brings us back to the left, to the right. Everyone's having problems with these Facebook ads because the Facebook ads are too prejudicial and too targeting, and that's kind of the problem, particularly in the healthcare industry, or not the healthcare, the housing industry, where you can narrow down by race, you can narrow down by ethnicity, you can narrow down by socioeconomic status, all of which are illegal in the housing industry for marketing. And that's what's caused Facebook to get underwater in some situations. So this article is certainly a left-leaning article, like everything from The Verge tends to be, but there's a lot of good information in here in that, number one, if you need that Facebook account, do not let that Facebook account connect to other things. Don't Don't use it to connect to apps. Don't use it to connect to websites. The second basic thing is don't download apps you don't need. Like on my smartphones, I use them exclusively to check the internet. Check my email and browse the internet when I'm on a mobile thing. I use it to share my hotspot, my internet with my computer when I'm traveling, because it's a lot safer mechanism than it is to use publicly available Wi-Fi. And then, I'll have a couple of very well-trusted apps, but not nearly those that you might expect. Pretty much everything I try and get is also an open source app. So you want to be very cautious about downloading any apps. Be very cautious about just automatically filling out any data that they want, because these guys were caught. But for these guys, there's tons of people, political, business, left, right, doesn't matter who. A lot more people are utilizing this exploit than just the Trump campaign. And that's why this article was very sensationalist, in that, it's trying to draw this negative attention to Trump because that's what this group likes to do. But it doesn't really have as much to do with Trump. It just happens to be that a Trump group happened to be caught. Now, if their favorite political guy would have said so, they wouldn't have left anything back. Oh, well, that's just advertising. They overstepped the bound a little bit. But no, it was their opposing argument, so they had to get all up in their face about it. We want to avoid that type of stuff as well. Be more balanced in the things that we're doing. So that's kind of the brief video I wanted to bring you today. Just an FYI, if you'd like to help support the channel, you can get things like t-shirts, coffee cups. I have, travel mugs and water bottles available. You can get these at shop.switch2linux.com. I'm also on Patreon, patreon.com/TomM. And you can check out switch2linux.com/support for other ways to help support us, including a PayPal link over there. And there is an Amazon affiliate link in the description below that will, if you want to shop on Amazon, you can use that link, and Amazon will send a small portion of that sale to help support the channel. So thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.